Millions of Americans feel a lot of different things when they hear the name OJ Simpson. There has been a lot of trouble surrounding the former football star and actress for decades, and his daughter, Sydney Simpson, has mostly kept quiet about it. Lisa has been quiet about her famous father for a long time, but now she is finally speaking out. Sydney's acts, even though they weren't said out loud, have been louder than anything she said. Come with us as we find out what The world was shocked when J.'s daughter said something about her father. Nicole, the girl's mother, was brutally killed when she was 8 years old, and her father was blamed for the crime. Even though there aren't many clear facts about what happened, Sydney seems to think that her father was responsible for the death of her mother. Sydney's life was a living hell after this terrible event because she had to always live in her father's shadow. Still, she tried very hard to avoid the media's attention, but she wasn't always successful. Her goal was to live a normal life, so she changed her name to Portia in 2014, even though this wasn't an answer to questions over the years. It could be seen as a way for her to put space between herself and her father that she changed her name. Also, losing her mother when she was young and living in her father's shade would have been very hard on her mental health. Sydney has probably been able to protect her feelings by staying out of the public eye as well. She stays in charge of telling her own story instead of letting her father's actions shape it by staying out of the press. Besides Sydney, OJ's first child also has her own opinion about her father, but she's more vocal than her sister and her opinion is very different from her sister's. Sydney's legal fights with her father had an effect on more than just her. They also had an effect on her sister. The main difference was that Arnell had a more positive view of her father than Sydney did because she was seen to have stood up for her father during his struggles. Reports say that Arnell and her father fight over everything, even though Arnell was very clear that her father was innocent, especially the way she lives. Arnell didn't know how to handle money well because she didn't pay her dad's Florida debt on time. That girl spent a lot of money on bags and clothes after her dad gave her his money. Close friends and family said that she became obsessed with drink during this time, which is why she got into fierce fights with her father and made him think about marrying her off so she could leave his house. But Arnell still had to take care of the first child, even though she lived a wild life. Even after their father was put on trial, she still looked out for her younger brothers and tried to give them a normal life. As a witness for her father during his first murder trial, Arnell also showed up. Therefore, in his next robbery trial in 2008, Arnell appeared as a witness for her father and also begged the parole board of commissioners to let her father out of jail after 9 years. During the parole meeting, Arnell used few but strong words to describe how she felt about her dad. She called him her best friend and her rock. She also talked about how hard things had been for her and her family because of the court problems. She begged people to give them another chance, knowing that OJ felt bad about it. Arnell tried to change the way her life looked, but the clouds of her father seemed to hide her efforts to get a better name. Because of the trial, her career took a hit, and now she makes a living as a rapper and fashion show director. She still works and takes care of her father's land in her spare time, and she stands up for her brother. It's important to know why his children have such different opinions about him in order to understand the events that made the mess happen in the first place. Heartbreaking problems in OJ's marriage. OJ got married to Marguerite White, who was his liver when they were kids. They had been friends since high school, even before OJ became well known in the NFL. In addition to being an athlete, OJ and she was also an actor. They had been together for a year before OJ. The Heisman Award, which he won in 1968, was his first big prize. They married when they were only 19, and they were married for more than 20 years, more than 10 years. 3 children were born from the marriage. They are Arnell, Jason, and Aaron. Like all other marriages, OJ, they were having problems in their marriage, which made them want to split up. When the marriage ended, the pair went their separate ways for a short time. People often say that O's busy life is what brought this marriage to an end. It turned out that the star mostly stayed, it led, away from the house they shared because of how busy his work schedule was. The star lived alone in a fancy house in a town of Buffalo, while his wife ran their huge home in Brentwood. Their lawyers also give a hint at another reason why their marriage didn't work out. They said that as OJ has become more famous, their marriage got worse. But Marguerite has been smart throughout this whole story. The main reason she decided to stay out of the spotlight was because she is shy. OJ remembered how hard it was to leave his wife out of his famous life. He told her that people would stop and take pictures of them as they walked down the street, even though she was kind of shy. They finally got a divorce in March 1979, and by June 1980, it was clear that there was no longer any happiness in the marriage, because it was said that Marguerite had threatened to hurt OJ and calling the cops because he won't leave their Brentwood home. From this angle, it was very clear that the sounds of OJ fame had something to do with the breakup. There would be no story about the end of his first marriage without talking about his 2-year affair with Nicole Brown, who would later become his wife. The second marriage was even worse than the first one in terms of ending badly. The marriage that caused nightmares. He met Nicole for the first time 2 years before his last split. The LA Times said that Nicole worked for a famous bar, which OJ was a visitor often. Nicole's cousin said that there was a lot of romance between these two, and even though OJ aged a great deal more than Nicole, that wasn't her business. The couple got married in 1985 and had 2 children, Justin Ryan and Sydney Brooke, during their 7-year marriage. In the beginning of their marriage, Nicole's husband only had good things to say about her. He liked how she made his life better, especially during a key time in his work. Still, behind all the glitz there were some scary signs that things were not going well in the marriage. O stood out the most. JS need to be in charge, because he couldn't stand the sight of his wife. Friends and family said Nicole was cut off from the rest of the world while she was married to O. I think this trait made it easier for J to believe the bad news about OJ has abused his wife physically many times. Nicole was said to have called the cops after OJ had beaten her up. In line with, according to the police report, Simpson yelled, "I don't want that woman sleeping in my bed anymore," during one of these incidents. He was caught only once, and his defense against charges of spousal abuse was successful. Nicole kept making these claims, so it looked like the abuse went on for a while. But it is said that her family told her many times to get back together with her cruel husband. Nicole's father pushed her to make this choice because of he made money and got help from OJ. He made a bet that paid off for Lewis, which made the Brown family richer. Nicole also said that the abuse she got from her husband started when she told him about his other relationships. Even worse, it looked like OJ. He apparently told his wife about his affairs with Tawny Keaton, but she didn't care that he was cheating on her. It was said that this affair went on for a year while Nicole was pregnant with his child. There were also rumors that Kris Jenner and O did something strange together, as long as he was married to Nicole. The documentary Who Killed Nicole brought this story to light. However, Jenner said in an interview that she had never slept with O. Denise Nicole, Nicole's sister, stated that she saw one of their fights and related OJ's actions as very aggressive, saying that he grabbed Nicole and threw her against the wall before throwing her out of the house. Denise told the story of OJ. He told them to leave the house together, and he actually threw her out too. Nicole also talked about her husband's angry face when he was losing control. The cold, animalistic look in his eyes and the swollen, angry veins stood out to her. But the couple agreed to lie about what happened at the X-ray lab so the doctors would think Nicole fell off her bike. Nicole finally chose to end it all because she was so sad and tired of everything. But Nicole wrote a letter to O. Before they got divorced, she was blamed for his cheating on her many times and had to take the blame. She also said that she had forgiven him as much as she could. The couple finally got a divorce on October 15th, 1992, but don't think that's the end of their story. The strange death of Nicole Brown after that. Nicole began to enjoy being a single mom to her kids, especially since they had moved into a rented house. When Nicole got divorced, she got $433,750 and $10,000 a month in child support. This was enough for her to get by financially. Despite this, he tried to get back together with Nicole sometime between 1992 and October 1993. It was clear from Nicole's phone that OJ was still very angry, and the fact that Nicole was now in a relationship made him even more angry. Small signs of the letter OJ was now completely crazy because of how controlling he was. Kirsten Jenner said Nicole quickly understood her safety was at risk and she had to leave. As she told her close friends that O would come out of her shell and talk more about her situation, Jay was more than able to kill her and get away with it. He did that. The events that led to her death in 1993 began when the Simpson family went to see the premiere of Naked Gun 33 and 1/3. The couple took their children to see their friends Chris, Caitlin, and 4 of Chris's children. Nicole was already set on cut ties with OJ for good by May 1994, when she started looking for a house and thinking about the free time she would soon have. OJ was seen to have reached Nicole by 8 p.m. At 9:40, she got a second call from her mom, who told her that she had left her glasses at the restaurant where they were having dinner by accident. Someone Nicole knew who worked at the restaurant and offered to drop them off later. His name is Ron Goldman. On the same night, June 12, 1994, around 10 p.m., others in the neighborhood heard a dog barking and realized it was coming from Nicole's house. They went over, saw blood on the dog's feet, and took it home. They were interested in the dog's behavior, though, so they followed it around, which shocked them for a long time. Nicole and her friend Ron Goldman were both killed by being butchered. When they were found, Nicole's head had been cut off and Ron had a terrible knife wound. Nicole was laid to rest on June 16, 1994. At the time of Nicole's death, it wasn't a surprise that her cruel husband was the main suspect in her death. The jail and trial of OJ, of course, OJ was quickly written down as the main suspect in the murder because he had a history of being mean and violent over the years. It was said that after what happened, OJ hid by following behind the SUV that his friend was driving. C. Cowlings. He didn't want to turn himself in to the police, especially after learning about the charges that were said to be against him. Several police departments began a high-speed chase of OJ for more than an hour, even though he had a gun. This attempt to escape was shown live on the national news, which had 95 million people. Some people were for him, while others were against him as they watched his arrest and subsequent transfer to police custody at his home in Brentwood, California. Simpson said he wasn't guilty when he was arraigned in court on July 22, 1994. The case was put off until January 24, 1995, and would be watched by Judge Lance Ito. The record of physical abuse Brown received from his ex-wife before their split in 1992 was used as proof by the district attorney's office. People who were against him used Simpson's past bad behavior as a major reason for the murder. But the Dream Team, which was made up of there are 6 people named Robert Kardashian, Lee Bailey, Robert Blazier, Sean Chapman Hawley, and Alan Dershowitz. O was backed. J, the most reliable case for OJ, which was that the evidence had been tampered with, especially by the racist prosecution led by Detective Mark Fuhrman, who said that he had found bloody leather gloves at the accused's home. However, the Dream Team denied the reports and gave a good reason why the glove couldn't have belonged to OJ, because his hands were not big enough to hold it. They also said in their defense that the evidence had been put in illegally, J's house to frame him for the crime. The trial turned into a public showdown between 2 groups, those who supported O and those who didn't. OJ Simpson. The whole country was split in 2. Because white Americans thought that OJ, most African Americans thought he was innocent, even though he was charged with murder. The main people involved in the case became well known as the case did. Millions of people watched the trial until it ended. On October 2, 1995, after a long trial, the panel came to a decision. The judge, Ito, put off the statement until the next day, when he said OJ Simpson wasn't guilty of killing Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson, and he was freed right away. There was a range of feelings between the groups. African Americans saw the result of the trial as a victory over the racist system, while whites were mostly let down. But after OJ, who he had an affair with while married to Nicole, and was found not guilty, there were rumors from his Tawny Keaton. It was found that Tawny Keaton supposedly kept in touch with OJ. Even after the rough patch between them, she said she knew something private about Brown's murder that she would only tell in her autobiography. The Sun says that he had almost admitted to her that he killed her friend and his wife. Most likely, Tawny didn't know why she kept this information from everyone before she died. However, Heaton, a journalist, told Sun that Tawny had only told him about this information a few weeks before she died, saying that people would rather she was dead than have her memoir published. In March, the Sun said that Keaton had died. He was 59 years old. No matter how the cases turned out, the families of the victims later sued OJ for the deaths of their kids. The civil trial began in October 1996 and went on for 4 months. In the following months, a civil court found J. Simpson guilty of killing Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman. Even after J. Goldman's father sued Simpson for $96 million after Simpson had served his time and been let out of jail. In the end, $35 million was given to both families by a jury. In Hertz. But OJ over the years, because he filed for bankruptcy and couldn't pay, but Goldman's father said that OJ were able to move to Florida, which allowed bankruptcy thanks to their money. Another thing the Brown family did was try to stop OJ, but later agreed to pay back his debt by giving up the rights to publish the book. However, the debt still remained significant even after the book's sales. Goldman said that OKJ had only given them $13,000 over the years. But where were the kids during all of these court cases? Who was in charge of OJ's kids? During OJ Nicole's family, the Browns took care of Justin and Sydney while she was in court. Jay was found not guilty. They had to share parenting, but not. Without a fight, the Brown family didn't want to give up their kids, especially when OJ fought for full control of his children. The fight went to court, but the judge found in his favor. Since many years have passed, it has become clear that biological parents usually get custody. This meant that it would never be easy for the Browns to get custody of their children. But taking into account the unique qualities of OJ, even so, it was a surprise that the judge agreed to give the parents full control. of OJ to his kids, but despite the strong facts and proof that OJ, even though he had abused his late wife, there was no proof that he did the same thing to his children. Even after the judge sided with OJ, there was a fight for 5 years over the Browns' right to have their child back. Finally, the court agreed with the appeal that the horrible events that led to this murder, because it couldn't be thrown out, so the appeal court gave the Browns custody. But what made OJ most likely the fact that the kids begged the judges to let them stay with their dad. The Browns dropped their case because of this, and they moved to Florida with their father. The Brown family kept in touch with O, though, because they loved their grandkids, Jay, even though they had to hide who they were, as Tanya Brown, Brown's sister, who had to treat O all the time, said. Jay was crash. With calm and respect, no matter what happened. People in the public are scratching their heads and wondering if OJ, they might have been the one who killed Nicole. Thoughts on Jason Simpson's role in Nicole's death? Jason Simpson was the second child of OJ's first marriage. He was born in 1970 and saw his father have an affair with Nicole Brown. The boy's family said that he had a lot of problems developing and behaving as a child. Since he started drinking alcohol and hard drugs when he was only 14, he tried to kill himself twice. It came out that Jason had mental health issues, and, even worse, a crime record a long time before the sad deaths of his stepmother and her friend. The police learned that Jason had a long past of being violent. He had been arrested 4 times before the killings. He was also charged with attack, driving while drunk, and using a license that had expired. Jason had hit 2 of his girlfriends, and in the same year that one of them was killed, he almost killed her. He also got into a fight with his boss, and it was said that he pulled out his kitchen knife and charged at him. When you use these patterns, it makes sense to throw the dice at OJ's son, because even though because he had a history of hitting people and wasn't good at drawing a knife like his son was. Jason also has an anger problem, which is another reason why he often acts violently. Because of his blackouts and hallucinations, he went to a mental health center a lot. Because Jason was on pills, his doctor told him that he was able to cut down on the triggers, but Jason had stopped taking his medicine again in the months before the murder. So it made sense to think that Nicole Brown's death was caused by her stepson's crazy behavior, since Nicole didn't tell him she was going out to eat on the day of the murder. The physical clues helped us learn more about the link between the murder and Jason. Found where the crime happened. It was found that the fibers on OJ were not the same as those on a black knit navy watch cap that was found at the scene. It was also said that Jason wore a watch cap when he wasn't working. As if that wasn't enough of a chance, the photo of Jason from March 24th, 1993, wearing the same cap, was found at the murder scene with his dog. But the cops didn't check Jason's fingerprints because they were only looking at those of his father, whose. There were no prints at the scene of the crime. Also, the DNA from the skin and blood did not match OJ. The knife that was found in Jason's closet was another strong piece of proof that he may or may not have killed the person. There was a storage area full of sharp objects that Jason had. One of them looked like a knife that could have been used in the murder. He had the Swiss and the stiletto, 2 types of knives that were all different sizes and shapes. The forensic expert showed up to look at the knives, and he said that the cuts on the victim's head were the same size as the backs of the knives, which meant that the other items could not be used as evidence. Additionally, some of Jason's friends who went to the Army and Navy Academy told the police that Jason had special training on how to use a knife with skill. OJ, on the other hand, may have been a well-known attacker, but did he know how to actually use a knife? Most likely not. Some say that even seeing blood made him sick to his stomach. Some people say that Jason was near the murder scene for a short time. The Los Angeles Police Department says that after 9:50 p.m., Jason had no one he could call for an excuse and was by himself. Also, Jason's siblings' mother probably never came to see her at work, which could have made his already tense relationship with her even worse. Finally, and this is the most worrisome, OJ, his father paid a well-known criminal defense lawyer to help defend his son after the killings and before he was arrested. This move was very strange because the cops weren't even looking for Jason at that time, and they hadn't even thought about how dangerous he could be. If he was found guilty, his father probably wanted to protect him from the chance of being charged. Another point of view is that OJ most likely trying to get away by pointing the finger at his son, who might have also been responsible. As the saying goes, the best way to defend someone who is wrongly accused of murder is to blame someone else who might be responsible. If Sydney Simpson told the truth about her father, what do you think? Please tell us in the comments. Thanks for seeing it. Want to see more videos? Don't forget to like and follow.